Welcome back to Pink Un Matchday here at Carrow Road, where Norwich City have beaten Nottingham Forest 5-1. Darren Eadie is still with me, as now we've been joined by Radio Norwich's Stuart Hodge. Stuart, thanks for joining us. This was one of the good days, most definitely, wasn't it?
Oh, it was outstanding. That was, for half an hour, the best football I've seen this season. I think Norwich City as a whole have been pretty strong at home, and we've been doing the right things in and around the box on occasion, but for that first 30 minutes just looked dangerous every time we had the ball.
And when you score goals like that, it doesn't have to make things easier for you, does it?
Three absolute world-class goals. I mean, the goals that, especially the first one from Johnny Howson, could grace any arena. Someone in the Champions League scores a goal like that, you're going, wow.
Spot on, absolutely. Now, you were with me in the mix zone with Alex Pritchard. Great game for him, and a great sort of signal of intent, if you like. I don't know if are we still at that point with Alex Pritchard where he needs to make a signal of intent?
I think it's a hard one. I think Alex is one of those players, because he's a flair player. It's going to always be with players like that, fits and starts to some extent. But I think with Alex Pritchard, you're seeing that he's really sort of adapting to the style of play, the demands of the manager, and I think you're seeing the rewards of that now.
In terms of the manager's reaction to the game as well, I mean, he's keeping it quite level, isn't he, still? Which I say, remarkable, the turnaround, given how much pressure he was on just a few months ago.
Yeah, it is, and I have to say, you're right. I think that every interview I've heard him since the poor run, he's not come out and said we've turned a corner. He's not come out and said we're still going to get into the playoffs. He's kept quite level-headed and said, look, we have got better, we're improving, but we've still got work to do. So that's all the things that Norwich fans want to hear. We don't want to hear complacency at this stage of the season. It's almost seemed to me as if the players got to a point where they felt, this is it. If we don't go and perform now and start to turn that corner, our season is over. So as much as Alex Neil's done a fantastic job as well, I think you have to give credit to those players that they have turned it around themselves. But on the flip side of that, you have to say, why did you let it get to that point in the first place?
Yeah, which I guess they can all be partially responsible for that. And that's almost the element that reminds me of 2 years ago, the fact that they've got to this point where they've had to focus and really get on with it effectively.
I think one of the things the manager actually said in his press conference was it's really easy to get out of a run like that, in terms of a positive run. So at the start of the season started off really positively. It's easy to lose your way. It's hard to refocus again, and that's what Norwich City have managed to do, and I think that's to the players' credit, and I think it's also to the manager's credit.
Word on Ivo Pinto, he seemed to go off with a knee injury eventually, although I wish he'd have taken him off sooner. Are we a bit worried about that?
A bit worried about that. Also worried about Nelson Oliveira, who we saw had something round his leg when he came off there. So it's looking like he might be a doubt for Tuesday night. That's probably going to get assessed in the morning, I would think.
Something medical around his leg then?
Yeah, something medical around his leg.
You left it quite open.
Yeah, a snake. It came from nowhere.
It wasn't like Tim Closer with the headgear today, because that might have been a style thing, but I think it was due to stitches in his head.
I was going to say that can't be a headband. He must have been.
No.
He must have had some kind of injury.
Yeah. We guess so. We guess so. Goodness knows.
I'll lend him this next week.
Yeah, put that on. I want that on for the rest of the chat.
There we go.
Which seems like the perfect time and prop to talk about Newcastle, obviously. Newcastle here on Tuesday night. I mean, great for Norwich to have won this game. The great opportunity to make a signal of intent themselves now.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different game on Tuesday. We know that. Newcastle are a good side. Forest are 15th for a reason. They picked up recently, but Newcastle are a different proposition altogether. Got goal scorers around the park, a little bit similar to Norwich, in fact, and that's what surprised me about how poorly Norwich have done over a period of time, because they are producing results like Newcastle have and battering teams at times, but just struggling to find that consistency. But no, it's a tough game, but winning 5-1 at home against a Forest side, naturally battering them, is going to give you massive confidence going into that game. And
would you get to the point where a point against Newcastle at home is all right, or have Norwich got too much ground to make up?
Depends on other results, really. It does. I think if other teams lose, then a point is not a bad one against Newcastle at home. But if other teams win and you drop off again and struggle and go back a couple of points, then all of a sudden it becomes a poor result.
As we'll bring up in a bit, there were a few teams that tripped up today.
Yeah, I think keeping the unbeaten run is the name of the game, really. Against Newcastle, after a result like today, you'll go out and you'll think, yeah, we can win this game. But the key thing is, don't lose it. Might be a tight one, might come down to set pieces. It's about making sure we're tight at the back and maybe exploiting a set piece at the top end.
And if they beat Newcastle as well, it's a signal of intent to the rest of the league, isn't it, that those teams above them, that they are back in the race for the playoffs.
Well, absolutely. We outlasted everyone except the people with the bins. So I think we're going to go and get...